What is up, Lighthouse Middle School? How you guys doing? You guys are doing a fantastic Wednesday. It's the last Wednesday of March, which is kind of crazy. I don't know if anyone else feels this way, but I feel like this March in particular for youth group stuff, we've not really been able to get together as much as usual. It's been a little more because of weather stuff. It's been a little more hit or miss, which kind of bums me out if I'm honest, because I like spending time with you guys. Um, with that being said, we're gonna have a great final month because we're talking about some awesome stuff this month. Next week, we will be at church. So don't, wherever you are, don't go there. Come to church, and we're actually gonna circle back to the Q&A that we were gonna have back in February that got canceled because of weather. And we're gonna talk about relationships because I know that that's a really important topic. You guys asked lots of really great questions, and I don't want to miss it. So no new Q&A topic, but a Q&A topic that we didn't get to touch on earlier. So we'll do that first Wednesday in April, which is April 2nd. So next week, we'll meet there. And then at the end of the month, on April 30th, we have Splash Bash. We do this every year. This is how we celebrate the great year that we have had, all that God has done, and just have a ton of fun. So this is kind of a water messy game sort of thing. So you're gonna want to wear clothes that you don't mind if they get a little wet, maybe get a little dirty or messy. And you're gonna want to bring a towel and something for your shoes. Like if you don't want to wear a pair of shoes that's gonna get messy or wet or whatever. And we will have a great time. So that's actually the last Wednesday in April. Splash Bash coming up. Looking forward to seeing you all there. And this month we're hopping into a new series. So of course that means there's a new devotional. You can scan that QR code. It's also on the bottom of your note sheets. Scan that code right there. And like I said, you'll notice there isn't another QR for Q&A because we're kind of coming to the end of the year here. So just the devotional to scan. I encourage you to do it. Even if you haven't done it all year, if you've not scanned it once all year, it's not too late. You can do it this time because we're talking about some really important stuff this month. So with that all out of the way, we're going to hop into our lesson for tonight. So like I said, we're getting into a new series called Invited. And the series is going to be one big party. We're celebrating because we're getting closer to the time of year when we remember the most significant event in God's story. Events that changed absolutely everything. And even when we aren't invited, there is a sense of awe and wonder when talking about great parties. Imagine how special it must feel to be invited to the parties of our dreams. There are few feelings better than being invited to a get-together. An invitation makes us feel connected, seen, and wanted. And when we're not invited, we actually might feel disappointment or maybe even loneliness. We might even try to figure out if we can do anything to be invited to the party of our dreams. We feel on top of the world when invited to a party. But what if people around you don't get the same invitation? So we're going to discuss this question here. How would it feel to be invited to a party knowing a friend wasn't included? I'm going to give you 30 seconds on the countdown to answer this question. Ready, set, go. It's a pretty terrible feeling to realize that you've been left off an invite list. When we experience that feeling in other parts of our lives, we may conclude that we're being excluded. Like maybe in our relationship with God. Does God have an exclusive invite list? Do some people have priority based on what they have to offer? If people seem more holy or spiritual, do they have access to like a VIP section? We're going to look at a Bible story that can help us sort through these questions. So, for a very long time, people have had those same kinds of questions about who is allowed to be in a relationship with God. Ultimately, who can be a part of God's community? Many felt as if they couldn't be invited because of their abilities, the way they looked, where they'd come from, the sin in their life. At the same time, the people who did feel like they belonged had a sense of entitlement. They treasured this exclusivity and did not want it taken from them. Instead of extending other offers to help other people feel included, they used it as a weapon to kind of keep people down. So when Jesus told a story to help people understand who was invited to God's party, there's some people who were kind of upset by what he had to say. So let's read this here together now. If you're in this Bible, page 651, Luke chapter 15. So we'll start in the big number 1-5 and then start in the small number 11 to 32. It's a little bit longer here, but to illustrate the point further, Jesus told them this story. A man had 2 sons. The younger son told his father, "I want my share of your estate now before you die." So his father agreed to divide his wealth between his sons. A few days later, the young son packed all his belongings and moved to a distant land. There he wasted all his money in wild living. About the time his money ran out, a great famine swept over the land, and he began to starve. He persuaded a local farmer to hire him, and the man sent him into his fields to feed the pigs. The young man became so hungry that even the pods he was feeding the pigs looked good to him, but no one gave him anything. When he finally came to his senses, he said to himself, "At home, even the hired servants have food enough to spare, and here I am dying of hunger. I'll go home to my father and say, 'Father, I've sinned against both heaven and you, and am no longer worthy of being called your son. Please take me on as a hired servant.'" So he returned home to his father. While he was still a long way off, his father saw him coming, filled with love and compassion. He ran to his son, embraced him, and kissed him. His son said to him, "Father, I've sinned against both heaven and you, and I'm no longer worthy of being called your son." But his father said to the servants, "Quick, bring the finest robe in the house and put it on him. Get a ring for his finger and sandals for his feet. Kill the calf we've been fattening. We must celebrate with a feast. For this son of mine was dead and has now returned to life. He was lost, but now he is found." So the party began. Meanwhile, the older son was in the fields working. When he returned home, he heard music and dancing in the house, and he asked one of the servants what was going on. "Your brother's back," he was told, "and your father has killed the fattened calf. We're celebrating because of his safe return." The older brother was angry and wouldn't go in. His father came out and begged him. But he replied, "All these years I've slaved for you and never once refused to do a single thing you told me to do. And in all that time you never gave me even a young goat for a feast with my friends. Yet when this son of yours comes back after squandering your money on prostitutes, you celebrate by killing the fattened calf." His father said to him, "Look, dear son, you've always stayed by me, and everything I have is yours. We had to celebrate this happy day, for your brother was dead and has come back to life. He was lost, but now he's found." So we may not totally see this, but in Jesus' time, what he said in this story was scandalous. Jesus told the people that God was inviting them to the greatest party that they could imagine. God was doing something new in the world and everyone was invited. All you needed to do was respond with a yes. If you did, there would be a huge celebration. Jesus' story of 2 sons compels us to imagine this new way of living. Imagine you're invited to a party at this huge house. It has everything. They have a chocolate fountain, fancy glasses, even a live professional band. You've heard rumors that maybe a few celebrities are going to drop in throughout the night. You're picturing this party. Whoever this party is honoring must be incredible. With all these intricate details taken care of, you probably expect this person to be super important. Maybe someone who dedicates their time to making their community better. Has influenced a whole lot of people, right? Now, imagine the party host bringing out the guest of honor and saying they've completely messed up their life, and this is their opportunity to start over. And then you look around and you realize the party isn't full of celebrities and super famous people, but just regular people, teachers, janitors, plumbers, librarians there. It's like everyone. The whole community is invited to celebrate this new beginning and commemorate what happens when someone says yes to a new life. Jesus described an incredible party to celebrate the son's return home. It stretches and grows our ideas of who's invited to join God, learn from Jesus, and become more like him. Just like the party thrown for his returning son, Jesus celebrates when we take a single step in his direction and say yes to his invitation. When Jesus invites us in, it's more than just you're welcome here, it's you're wanted here. This party is for you. Through the life, death, and resurrection of Jesus, this amazing party where everyone is celebrating is actually happening here and now. If you worry about whether or not you're being invited to God's lavish party, Jesus tells this story to show that you are invited. You don't need a perfect story to be invited and welcomed in. In fact, none of us have a perfect story. We all have sin in our life, and that makes Jesus' invitation to this party and new life so amazing. Despite our sin, Jesus says, I want you here, just as you are. And in the movie The Sandlot, Scotty Smalls is a new kid in town trying to make some friends. He attempts to make new friends by playing baseball in an empty neighborhood field called The Sandlot. His first experience playing baseball ends with a black guy and him running back home. The rest of the guys on the team want nothing to do with Smalls. They don't want him on the field. They certainly don't want him on their team. There's one guy who isn't going to give up on him. Benny the Jet Rodriguez, the best guy on the team, wants Smalls back on the field. Check this out.
Hey. I'm gonna go play some ball and we need an extra guy. You wanna go?
Nah, thanks.
Why not? Don't you like baseball?
Oh yeah,
But what?
but my glove, it's busted. So I can't go. Thanks though.
It's okay. I got an extra one. Come on, let's go.
Mom, let me go play some ball. Be back in a little while.
Come on, let's go.
Benny didn't just invite Smalls, he wanted him there. He went out of his way to find Smalls and bring him in. Benny even brought items Smalls would need to play baseball better. His invitation was more than empty words. Actions and resources helped Smalls realize how much Benny wanted him on the team. And I love this because this is what it looks like when Jesus invites us to be a part of God's community. God knows our desire to be loved and invited in. He knows what we need, and Jesus invites us in a similar but even better way than Benny did for Smalls. And you may think, well, of course people listen to Jesus. He must have been so charismatic. But the Bible admits that not everyone liked Jesus. People rejected him, betrayed him, and ultimately killed him. Now, we know that this betrayal and death were part of God's plan to offer us this invitation to new life. But that doesn't mean it was easy for Jesus. In his life, Jesus was left out and rejected. He was overlooked by others. But despite those obstacles, he focused on telling everyone about God's invitation to new life. Because of Jesus, we don't have to look at God and wonder if we're invited, a VIP, or on the wait list. Because of Jesus, we already know how God feels about us. Because with Jesus, everyone is invited. No matter who you are, God wants you at the party. All of us have been given an invitation to join God's kingdom. I picture an exclusive gathering when I think of big, lavish parties. Parties for the elite, the people who can afford tickets, or people with status and influence. But God's party isn't like that. We're all invited, even if we're unsure where we're at in our faith. Jesus is inviting you into what God is doing in the world. But it's up to you if you want to attend. The invitation is always there, waiting for you whenever you can say yes. So if you're ready to say yes and celebrate with Jesus at the most incredible party ever, here's how you can do that. First, you got to accept the invite. When you receive an RSVP, you first need to respond. You got to let the host know that you're coming. God wants you to say yes to the party, but he understands a response of not right now. God is patient with us. But saying yes to trusting in Jesus is the most important invitation we can accept, even if we don't know all of the answers just yet. And then you go to the party. Saying yes is part of the response, but next you show up. This looks like prioritizing your relationship with God, inviting others to know about God, and focusing on strengthening your relationship with Jesus. Nothing can separate you from God's love, and you will not be uninvited to the party because God wants you there. So, how are you going to respond? Today, God is inviting you to join the party. The God who created everything loves you deeply and wants to have a life-changing friendship with you from now and into eternity. This is an open invitation that will transform your life. It's never too late to take a step towards Jesus and celebrate the reality that with Jesus, everyone is invited. We're going to switch it over to our small group questions now. Hopefully you guys have a really great discussion about this. I love you guys. I will see you next week when we meet all together.